Time to check in with Rudy Husny, former advisor in the Harper government and now political analyst. And our feature brought to you, of course, by the folks at Guaranteed Industries, serving Montrealers since 1957. Not too late, by the way, to consider getting a brand new Canner heat pump or furnace. Lots of winter left to go. Guaranteed Industries, 514-342-3400 or online, guaranteedindustries.com. So, Rudy, we've been spending some time talking about the Mark Carney speech today at the World Economic Forum. I'd like to get your take on this. What'd you think?
But first of all, I think that it was a good move for Prime Minister Carney to be in Davos. I can say that he was at the right place at the right time. He did deliver what I believe is a very good speech. I think that he made a very frank assessment about the reality, about the world order, or I should say the lack of. He did say some very important things, including the fact that we're facing an American hegemony and how it's using its power against the good, especially, and we see it with what's happening in terms of tariffs. Also, the fact that some people are saying it's a transition. He said, no, it's a rupture, and that Canada needs to recalibrate many relationships, but also that Canada has a lot to offer to the world when it comes to being an energy superpower, when it comes to, obviously, critical minerals, but needs cooperation and collaboration with other allies. So I do believe that it was a very, very important speech, especially because President Trump is arriving tomorrow at the World Economic Forum in Davos. We'll see what will be, obviously, the message of President Trump. But he did deliver kind of the same message that French President Macron also delivered this morning, especially on one important topic, which is Greenland and Denmark, saying that Canada stands obviously with its NATO partner and doesn't understand what's happening right now with, obviously, the United States.
So let me just ask you a question, Rudy. I mentioned off the top whenever we talk, you're a former advisor, of course, in the Harper government.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, on a day like today, and we asked our listeners what they thought of this speech, and I will tell you that for the most part, people use the word great, remarkable, etc.
Yes.
Is this a day for someone like a Pierre Poilievre to stand up and kind of weigh in on this or not?
Yes, honestly, it is, because it's going to be very difficult, I believe, for Pierre Poilievre to criticize Mr. Carney, especially on the speech that he delivered. I do believe that it was a very frank assessment, especially on the fact that Canada needs to diversify, that Canada needs to be with its allies, especially with what's happening with the U.S. or with what's happening with Greenland. And it's also going to be difficult in the upcoming weeks or months, because I do believe that today Prime Minister Carney did show an image of a serious prime minister who knows what's happening, and it's not a good sign for Pierre Poilievre to attack him on that speech, for example.
Hey, who wrote his speech, Rudy? Do you know?
I believe there's a rumor that he wrote it himself, but,
wow.
You know, in politics, even if he didn't, nobody will take credit for it.
Fair enough. I want to talk about something else. I had a chance to speak to Paul St. Pierre Plamondon earlier in the afternoon. We're going to replay part of that tomorrow. There's a new poll out today, a Palace data poll, that shows it's been this way for a while, right? The idea that support for a referendum, support for sovereignty continues to be low. It really hasn't changed a lot. In fact, I think, to be fair, if you look at the data today, it's probably, when I say worse for the PQ than it was, or for Paul St. Pierre than it was before. People don't want a referendum. People don't want sovereignty. We're seeing this now spelled out more and more. Given what's going on with this world order and, of course, the threat from the U.S., it's unlikely that's going to change very much. But when I ask them the question of, based on that, do you think maybe it's a better idea? You want to become premier of this province. You're going to push something that nobody wants, or that most people rather don't want. Would you consider changing? And his strict answer was absolutely not. No, this is what he's pushing. This is their raison d'etre. What do you think of that?
No, it's true that it's a very difficult situation right now for the PQ, especially because we cannot trade as we used to when it comes to the United States, that Canada, and we've been talking about it, how that we have to increase, for example, our Canadian economy and do more exchange even between provinces. Don't forget that even Bernard Landry, who was the PQ premier, said that we need to do more free trade even inside Canada. So it's difficult for the PQ leader, especially that the table has changed right now, because we'll see what's going to happen with the CAQ. But there were some people, and I'm not afraid to say it, that when you look at the polls, there were some people who were parking their vote with the PQ because they wanted change. They didn't like François Legault and they wanted to see change. But now if it's a question of only a referendum and voting for the PQ because they're going to be a referendum, I do believe that the polls in the upcoming weeks and months, especially when we'll know who exactly will be the leader of the CAQ, can really change the table, and also for the Parti libéral du Québec.
I would ask the question with respect to now that there's a change. There is going to be, as you said, a new Liberal leader. There's going to be a new CAQ leader. If you're the strategist working with the PQ, suddenly, your main opponent, which of course was going to be François Legault, is gone. How does that change things?
It changed things because, again, you cannot go and just say, it's an old and tired government and go with all of that. You need to at least put something forward and not just attack the player in a way which would have been very easy for François Legault, especially that there's going to be a change in generation. Pierre Saint-Pierre Plamondon is, I believe, 48 years old. Charles Milliard is about also in the 40s. We'll see who is going to be the CAQ leader, but also will be in their 40s. So it's a kind of a new dynamic, even in terms of generation. Mm-hmm. So it will be very difficult also just on this point. When you look at the image, it's not going to, you're not going to see François Legault as an old, tired premier, trying to defend everything he's been doing. So that's why it's going to be difficult. And he needs also to recalibrate his message because people are still afraid of what's happening with the U.S. and that they don't believe that possibly Quebec, being a sovereign nation, will have a better deal with the U.S., for example.
I will tell you, when I asked that question about the U.S., Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon doesn't think that's, plausible at all. He thinks everything's going to go back to normal.
I mean, nobody understands right now what's happening when it comes to President Trump. Yeah. I don't believe that Quebec as a nation will have a better understanding.
Yeah. All right. Let me, with respect, by the way, to the CAQ, so we kind of kid around about, when François Legault announced he was leaving, everybody was lined up. Will it be this? Will it be her? Will it be him? And, of course, there are more people leaving. Not just, the job, the potential job, but the party altogether and politics altogether. Sonia Lebel, Geneviève Guilbeault, the list continues to grow. So the CAQ's looking for a new leader. Is this still about Christine Fourchette, do you think, and Simon Jolin Barrette, or have you heard something else?
It's still the question, is Bernard Drinville, is he going to put his name in the hat? That's one question. It can also change the dynamic. There's still the name of Yann Lafrenière, who's the current public safety minister. Is he considering or not? For the moment, we're still waiting. But most importantly, we need to know what are the rules. I mean, it's very important for somebody who's going to decide if he's going to run or not. What are the rules? What are the deadlines, especially in terms of this race? But it's interesting because there's going to be now, for example, Madame Fréchette, in terms of immigration, is she going to have the same policy when it comes to immigration? Don't forget that in the past, she was also, and it's been heard that she was critical of François Legault's policy when she was herself immigration minister. At the same time, Simon Jolin Barrette, is he going to go? He's been seen as kind of the son of François Legault when it comes to obviously all the work he's done on secularism and also on the Constitution. But don't forget, he's very, very nationalistic. So fighting Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon on nationalistic, it's very difficult also. So it will be interesting. And the most importantly, when there's going to race is really going to kick on, how are they going to differentiate themselves from François Legault? Because when we're looking at the candidates, they were all ministers of François Legault, which is not the same dynamic, for example, that Mark Carney could come and say, I've never served in that government, so I don't feel obliged by this position or that position.
So I'm going to wrap up. I just want to know, hey, did you hear, Rudy, the new ad that the CAQ is putting out looking for a leader?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, you want to hear it. So here we go. I just got it today. Go ahead, Brian.
Are you a masochist with a passion for public service? A problem solver undeterred by joining a sinking ship? If you answered yes, then the CAQ wants you. We're looking for a warm body to steer us into the next election, or as we call it, extinction. You'll receive daily limousine service, a spacious corner office, and with only 9 months to serve, you won't even need to unpack. Remember, you must speak French better than the CEO of Air Canada so you don't accidentally agree to sovereignty. Interested? Send your CV and a 300-word essay on why I'm perfect for this job to howhardcanthisbe.qc.ca.
There you go. So we'll see who responds to that. But I thought,
By the way, there's going to be a by-election, so good luck to the CAC candidate who's going to run without having a leader, actually, at the CAC.
Yeah, that's in Chicoutimi, right? That's the one that Paul St. Pierre was driving to today.
In February, but there won't be a leader at that time, so it will be interesting to run without a leader.
Rudy, do you want to run?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay,
I'm happy to stay with you on.
Very well.
Introducing Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio. Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
Join me for an insider look on a wild ride through 40 years of global rock and roll.
Bryan Adams Radio. Now available on the free iHeartRadio app. Or ask your smart speaker to play Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio.
Who's ready to rock?
Kids wanna rock.